Oh, it's time. Time to get radical.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to Radical Comment of the Week for December 13th through December 19th, 2021. These are the very best comments from that time period. Starting out with the honorable mentions, we have Dumez, Brutes McGee, and Martyville. The bronze medal is going to come to us from Troy Bilko. First of all, this is a scalper's dream device. There are limited pre-orders and they are most likely closed, and yes, you'll have to buy adapters. It's a nice device for, failing old electronics that have screens and caps that have given up the ghost. Modded systems of those types can run more expensive than this is new if you can find it at the MSRP. That being said, the adapters plus an EverDrive loaded with ROMs from your console of choice, yes, it will be jailbroken to allow for NES compatibility and so on, and handhelds of your choice. It's a good buy if you don't care about the OG hardware. Their problem is slow shipping and time to deliver. This thing has been coming out for around 2 years now, and that being said, scalpers sit on those pre-orders and list them on eBay ASAP. The gaming market has become a minefield thanks to supply shortages and scalpers. It has not reached PC video card range, but if it makes me think that more often these days than not. Best to emulate with the many ways you can these days, especially if you don't want that finder's fee. Yeah, the problem with scalpers. I don't know how we can fix the problem with scalpers. I think there have been steps by some companies, in the way that they are bringing the systems out or listing them. But you're right. The minute a lot of these systems come out and get listed, they get gobbled up by these scalpers. Now, some people might make the argument, well, you know what? If the scalpers have the money, it's a capitalist society. If the scalpers have the money, if they can buy thousands and thousands of dollars worth of this dream device, for them that is, and then charge double the money on these things, much like a lot of scalpers handle the PS5, Xbox Series X, then they can do these things, and it's perfectly legal. But all the times what's legal is not morally right. And it's not morally right to charge somebody $1,000 for this device or $1,000 for a PlayStation 5. But it happens. And sometimes, there will be people that come by with the argument, let's say, around e-begging, that, this is a capitalist society. People should be allowed to request whatever they can of their audience and to extract whatever money they can out of like an old dusty game. Hey, stadium events, I think that's worth $100,000, $200,000. It's all about how much money you can get from something. But the value of something comes down to common sense. This device is not worth $1,000. The PlayStation 5 is not worth $1,000. Just because there's some idiots out there that are going to pay that much for it doesn't mean it's worth that much. Doesn't mean to say that people will actually just pull the trigger on these things and buy these things for over $1,000. But then it comes down to self-control. That's the other part of this that we don't really look at too. Self-control. Me? Yeah, I'd like a PlayStation 5. But hell, I'm not paying over $1,000 for a PlayStation 5. And this seems like a pretty cool device. I don't have like a lot of Game Boy carts and everything, but there's a couple Game Boy carts out there that I might have a passing interest in picking up and seeing how they look on this. Like maybe Metroid, Castlevania, and stuff. But I'm not paying that premium. I'm looking for ways of entertainment, and there's a lot of means of entertainment out there that don't cost a lot of money. And I also recommend, if you can get it, if you can find it, VAG. Yeah, that's a fun hobby. Thank you, Troy Bilko. The silver medal, the shiny silver medal, comes to us from, well, not to say that that wasn't a shiny bronze medal. That was a shiny bronze medal too. Okay, all the medals here are shiny. The shiny silver medal comes to us from Art Bell. As with Styx Hexenhammer 666, political ranters on YouTube, they want viewer cash, always. To get paid 10 ways from YouTube, then Patreon, or their own platform, paywallers and ballers, YOLO! Good takes and predictions, but this plea to join his paywall site is a swerve. First, this guy, Lionel, says comments stink. He says anyone who reads comments is a loser with too much time. This explains why James No Time Rolf ignores his fans, I suppose. But get this. Earlier video, please to join. Excuse me there. I don't have my water nearby. Earlier video, please to join. He sold how viewer comments on his site were incredible. So unless they are on his paywall site, since he is getting paid, comments are worthless. After he ignores his channel commenters, crazy stuff was left. YouTube noticed and took his ads off. Finally, he says he cannot use other video platforms that don't censor speech as much. Because he wants to reach left-wingers, centrist, and indie voters, these wilder video sites attract only conservatives and nutters. Nutter, the number 2 website on earth, as well. He mentions in code that he is a capitalist. This means he wants viewer money, is why he does not post videos to other sites. Why not say it plainly? Second, he has an account on BitChute already. Busted. 3, he says staying there would be preaching to the choir, but his own paywall site would be a super hug box. Nothing but pay whales and piglets who nom his every word. What is more hugboxel than fans who love his rant so much that they shove dollars down his trousers every month? Funny thing you bring up here, Art, you bring up the nutters, the people that believe in a flat earth. You know, if someone comes here and they start to talk about how the earth is flat, that person I designate by default as a trash person. Now, you remember, Art, a while back I had an upload saying that I ban trash people, and I don't want trash people here. It's simple is, well, I don't want to waste my time with trash people and trash comments. It's a personal choice. Now, some of you might, rant and rave. Censorship. Thing is, this is not a corporation that censors. This is not a corporation. This is a person wanting to talk to other people that are very intelligent, like Art Bell. Now, I don't agree with Art all the time, and Art doesn't agree with me all the time, but he's a tried and true intelligent individual that comes by and leaves very worthy comments. And this guy brings up Lionel. This guy, Lionel, brings up that comments are a waste of time. Well, there's a lot of things in the world that are a waste of time. We might argue that almost everything is a waste of time since we ultimately die, isn't it? As long as we're having fun and enjoying ourselves, then I think it's time well spent. But yeah, about the flat earther stuff. Just think about that for a second. Like, we have proof. There's been video of the earth in orbit. It's round. Makes sense. What kind of an individual, what kind of a warp-twisted individual looks at a picture of a flat earth that looks like a Monopoly board and says, yeah, the earth is flat? So, yeah, there's no talking to those kind of people. But the political ranters, they want viewer cash. Yes, they want viewer cash. And what's kind of funny is a lot of these political ranters designate themselves to the right end of the spectrum. And isn't it right-wingers that talk about like charity handouts and stuff like that happens on the left a lot? I've always found that to be really hilarious how, you can actually keep a straight face while telling people to donate to your Patreon. Oh, there's my Patreon. Why? Because, hey, you gotta support me because, popular media, they don't let the right wing. Yeah. It's just, call them out for what they are. They're hypocrites, plain and simple, if they, again, designate themselves to the right, which is mostly the party of, I would say mostly it's the party of, like, take care of yourself, raise yourself up by your bootstraps, and then yet they ironically dip into a lot of aspects from the left. I'm not saying that there's one that's better than the other or whatnot. I'm going to get into that political discussion or conversation because, I'd rather just take my head and, like, it's not my head, it's actually my fist. I'm not going to do that. I'd rather take my head and bang it against the wall for a couple hours rather than actually have a discussion on politics, because people don't have discussions on politics. They just yell at each other. That's usually what happens when it comes to political discourse. But yeah, great comment there, Art Bell. Shiny, shiny silver goes to you. Now let's go to the gold here. The gold. The shiny gold medal comes to us from the Winged Avenger. The Analogue Pocket is probably good news for people who have Game Boy cartridges. The console addresses the main problem with Nintendo's Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. That is the screen size. All iterations of the Game Boy had a small screen that was simply unacceptable. I addressed that problem a long time ago. I played Game Boy and Game Boy Color games on my PSP, and I played Game Boy Advance games on my new 2DS XL. The screen size on those two portable systems is perfect, and the emulation is excellent, and modding them is easy. Also, the PSP colorizes the black and white Game Boy titles as the Game Boy Color did, which I'm not sure whether the Analogue Pocket does. I googled this and could not find any info, and the major YouTube reviews of the console failed to address this important feature. And if that isn't enough for you, then consider that the PSP perfectly emulates Game Gear and Neo Geo Pocket Color games without needing any add-ons, which the Analogue Pocket requires. Some excellent Game Boy games have been completely colorized and are improved upon by hackers. These can be played on PSP, but not on the Analogue Pocket. I'm talking about Super Mario Land 1 and 2, which play in color, while cartridge fanatics play them in black and white. Castlevania The Adventure for Game Boy is notorious for being too slow, and I play a hacked colorized version on my PSP, which essentially means that I play an awesome game while cartridge collectors play a fatally flawed one. So if you have cartridges and want to play them in the best way possible, then the Analogue Pocket is for you, but everyone else should just get a PSP. Well, that's a strong argument for a PSP versus an Analogue Pocket. Now, the Analogue Pocket, like you say, is a great way to play these physical games. But I look at it as, well, if I'm playing these old games, I want to look at the best way possible. And the best way possible to play retro video games is through emulation. I discovered this when I had a Sony Ericsson Play. Winged Avenger, I had a Sony Ericsson Play. And I basically was playing all these different kind of ROMs on it. This is the first time I had like a handheld device like that, the Sony Ericsson Play, which also, it was my phone. And I'm sorry, there's an alarm going off. It was also my phone. And I was just amazed that I had a phone that was capable of playing basically these entire libraries of SNES and Genesis type games, Game Boy Color. I think I just had the SNES and the Genesis on there. I'm like, this game looks much better than it does on regular hardware. So emulation is the superior way of playing these games. I mean, superior in several ways, but mostly it's superior when it comes to cost. The cost of free, you get a PSP, and I have a PSP, by the way, the Winged Avenger. I just need to get a battery in it. And I've not delved into actually using my PSP for that, but the screen is perfect. The screen is big. See, if I were creating a device, the last thing I would skimp on would be the screen size on anything. The Game Boy, the original Game Boy, the Game Boy Advance, good systems and everything for their time and whatnot, but Nintendo has been notorious for skimping on things and not giving people mostly what they wanted for, the Game Boy was a decent price for what it was. Maybe the small green screen is what helped the price. But these days, people have come to expect a big screen. Number one thing you want is a big screen, easy to see. And so people can debate which is the best way of playing these retro games, but when it comes down to it, I don't think there's any competition. The best way to currently play retro games in 2022 is through ROMs and emulators.